Hello, so this is my attempt at the homework for Paul McWhorter's Raspberry Pi Pico W lesson number 18, in which we are controlling an RGB LED with push buttons. Setup is similar to last week. Obviously last week we only had the single push button and a red LED. This time we've got an RGB LED and 3 push buttons. The theory being that when you push the red button, the red LED comes on. When you push the green button, the green LED comes on, and when you push the blue button, the blue LED comes on. In fact, I say when you push it, I think Paul actually wanted us to have it so that when you press it, nothing happens, but when you release it, the LED changes. So that's what we're aiming for. As you remember, my RGB LED is actually a common anode, so I've got a 3.3 volt connection on the common pin. Most other people will probably have a negative ground connection on the common pin. I've taken these 3 resistors back to pins 13, 14 and 15. 13 for the red, 14 for the green pin, and 15 for the blue pin. The buttons I've got coming to pins 16, 17 and 18. Again, 16 for the red button, 17 for the green button, and 18 here for the blue button. So we start by importing libraries. From machine, import pin. From time, import sleep. Set up the pins, and then we set up the objects for the buttons and the LED. So the red LED, we have pin, and it's a red pin, and it's going to be an output. The green LED, same thing, but for the green pin. So same with the blue pin and the blue LED. The red for the red button, obviously taken it as the red pin, it's an input, and we're using the pull-up resistor, so pin.pullup. And again, the same for the other 2 buttons, but with the different colours. Now I'm going to start by checking the state, or checking the value of the button when we first start, so that when we can put that into the while loop as we begin, so that we've got something to read for the previous state. So while true, we start by putting the previous state to what it was before we started, and then we say the state now, red button state, reads it again. Obviously on the first go round it wouldn't have changed, but then we're into the loop. So if we now press the button, then it would change. And then we say simply, if the red button state is greater than the previous button state, then that means basically, obviously, when it starts, it's going to start with a value of 1. If we press it, the value is going to drop down to 0, but then if we release it, then the value is going to go back up to 1, and that's the point that we're looking for when we release the button. So when the button state goes from 0 to 1, so the previous button state needs to be 0, and then the new button state needs to be 1. So if that happens on the red button, then the red LED is toggled, so it changes state from off to on. Same with the green button, and same with the blue button. And then we sleep for 0.1 of a second before repeating the whole thing again. So obviously with this, it will toggle the toggle the LED depending on which button you press. So if we play this and see what we've got. Okay, so nothing happens to start with. Press the red button, nothing happens. When we release the red button, the LED goes on. And then if we press it again, nothing happens, and release, the red button goes off. Same with the green. And same with the blue. Okay, now the only issue you have with this is if you press one button and then press another button, you're going to get a different colour, because we now have yellow because we have the red and the green on. Likewise, if we press the blue, we now have white. But the issue with this is we now don't know which buttons to press to get it off necessarily, because if we press the green, we've now ended up with magenta, but it's not obvious which button you need to press to get them off. Fortunately, I know that it's red and blue, but that could be an issue if you aren't looking for any of those particular colours, you just want to change from red to green. So I've also done another program whereby if we stop this one, this second one is very similar, but so the setup is exactly the same to start with, but the if statements are slightly different. With the if statements in this one, if the red button's pressed, then the red LED will toggle, but the green LED will go off and the blue LED will go off. For mine, obviously, because I've got a common anode, I need a high state for the LED to go off, and only a low state for it to go on, so that the 3.3 volts goes through and then has a path to go to. Okay, so that's the red one. Obviously, if the green one goes on, then the red LED goes off, the green LED is toggled, and the blue LED goes off. And similarly with the blue, red LED and the green LED go off, and the blue LED is toggled, and then we sleep. So very similar, but just a slightly different setup on the if statements. And we'll show you what happens with this one. So now with this one, if I press the red button, the red LED goes on. If I press the green button now, we don't get yellow, but we get green. If you press green again, it goes off. Press blue, we get the blue. Red, we get the red. Go back to blue again. We get blue, green, and red. And if you want to switch it off, you just press the same colour. Yeah, so two slightly different adaptions of the same type of thing. Hope that was interesting, and see you again next week.